Hi, it's Bobby from Bobby's Baking Blog with another tutorial. This one is my Primrose Tufted Heart Sugar Cookie. So it'll be my pleasure to show you how I designed it. Let's go ahead and decorate this tufted heart cookie and put our primroses on there. And I'm going to show you a technique called scratch piping. And scratch piping literally is how it sounds. I'm going to be scratch piping. You want the consistency to be an off-peak consistency, but not, if you have trouble and your off-peak consistency is too hard for you, you can go down to a medium. You don't have to hurt your hand. But what you want to do is pipe out a ball, and since a primrose has petals that are shaped like a heart, that's what we're doing. And you want to scratch pipe. So I'll do that again, and I'll explain it a little bit better. You want to pipe a nice bead and not release pressure, but kind of ease up on your pressure and come down on your flower. So it makes almost a dent. And that one didn't turn out. So we can just nicely take it off like it wasn't ever there and redo it. So you want to bring a bead down and release your pressure and just scratch pipe so that it looks literally like there's a dent in the flower. It divots downward. And there are 5 petals on your primrose, and then your center. So just want to make sure that all my petals are touching the center, and they are. And that's it. And if you get a little bit of a peak in that center, just take a brush and gently pat it down. So I'm going to show it to you one more time. You just want to pipe your bead and bring it down. So you're making teardrops, but you're instead of releasing and getting a small tail, you're actually bringing that tail down. So again, you want to make your ball. Everything comes to the center. Make sure your tip is very clean and just bring it down. That one didn't scratch the way I wanted, so I'm going to take him off. No big deal. Like he never was there. When your royal icing is freshly piped or freshly whipped, if you're using royal icing from the day before, you can remove it. It's when it's dry that you can't remove it. And then my center. I think I'm just going to use my gel brush to take down that peak since it's a big center. I'm going to finish the primroses, come in and show you the vein and the leaves. So now we're going to connect our primrose with the vine. And you can just find whatever starting point you want. It's going to be coming from underneath the flower, so you want it to look like it's coming from underneath. And vines kind of have a lot of wavy movement. So you want to make some natural wavy movement. Just kind of pipe your icing and let it just naturally fall. Let gravity do what gravity does. And put it back in. And if you find that it's not tucking under, you can use your damp brush. I'm not worried about the color getting on the petals because I'm going to be painting them, so it doesn't really matter if the colors get on there. So since it went here, it would probably come out from right about here, or right about here, I guess. The idea is to just have it look as natural as it possibly can. You need to turn your cookie, turn it. You just want the vein to look like it's coming, and that one's too long, so let's remove it. As long as that green didn't get on the cookie part, and it didn't, it's fine. Just put that in the trash. We're going to go over where it was, so I'm not too worried about that part. We'll do it again. I went way too high and long. So you just want to make sure your tip is nice and clean and you have a good flow. On this, you want more of a soft to medium peak consistency so that it just kind of falls out. And I'm using a number 2 tip if I didn't tell you. And just kind of tuck it in. Take out your trusty little wet brush and tuck in the vine and continue on. Wherever you think your vine's going to come out and it looks natural is what you want to do. So you want to start off with very little pressure in there because it's going to be coming out from the flower. Just let gravity gently bring your vine down wherever you want that vine to go. And then release pressure completely, stretch it out, and lay it down. If it still pokes up on you like that one did, you're going to take your brush and you're just going to tuck it underneath. You just want it to look like it's coming out from that flower. There's a reason. So you're going to start off again light. You're going to bring your pressure up so the more that you can raise your bag, your piping bag, and the more pressure you can give while your vane is in the air, or you're making S&C scrolls, is literally what you're doing. And then you're going to release. So while you're trying to make, you don't want to get like a elbowy looking thing, you want it to look more round. You want to give it more pressure while you're bringing it out. I chose to make, and you'll see when I bring up the leaves, my vane or my vine darker than my leaf because that's what I saw in nature. So I was trying to make it look as realistic as possible. Royal icing is never going to look as natural as like gum paste, but you can get pretty close. And we're going to kind of chain the vane. So we're going to go back over where we started and just gently bring in almost like a figure 8, I want to say, or S's, however you feel comfortable doing it. You just want to bring your vane up and around so that it looks like it naturally just kind of belongs there. And if you don't like the way it's laying, you can use your brush and you can tuck in your ends at the end there. So again, you're just going to chain it in. Doesn't have to be anything big. Just has to look like it belongs there. So you're going to pipe very light pressure when you start. In fact, I am going to actually start in the center here, and then I'll take my wet brush, I'll show you, and make it look like it was just one piece because it's so small in there. And I think I'm going to do that with the other one too. The one's giving me a hard time there. So as you see, I'm just taking my damp brush and I'm melting that piece of royal icing into the green. So you can't even tell. So now we're going to put in our leaves, and really you can pretty much do it wherever you want. I'm using a small PME leaf tip and just kind of filling in where I think we need some space taken. I'm going to use my brush to make that one go down. So when you're using a leaf tip, it can be a little confusing because people are always like, which way does it go? You want it to go where the blade is going up and down so that the little V marks are to your side. What you want to do, and I got so busy telling you about the tip, is you want to, it's an off-peak consistency. You want to do pressure, pressure to get the size of the leaf that you want, and then release. So you're going to make pressure, get your size, pull up as you release. And that'll make your leaves stand up. So now we're going to do our border, and I'm going to double border it, and all that means is I'm going to border around my heart and around the edge of the cookie. And I'm going to do the same border, which is a snail's trail. Pipe a bead and you pull out, and I realize that you probably can't see, so as soon as I come around the heart, I'll explain again exactly what you're looking for. You just want to pipe a bead, release pressure, and come down. Come back far enough so that your bead's the same size, and do the exact same thing. And you're just going to do that all the way around. So it looks like a pearl necklace attached by a small string. And the idea is that you're just going to bring it all the way down and around. And for the heart, which I'm going to do the outside of the square differently, rather than pipe in the same direction, I change directions where the indentation of the heart happens so that my tails of my beads will hit at the point of the heart. That's a personal decorative choice, and if you wanted to stay in the same direction, you can. That's just something that I think looks a little bit cleaner if they come and they meet at a point. When I do the square, I will stay in one direction and it will just all meet up. So I'm going to show you that now. And you've probably seen me do this border before. This one and the shell border are my favorite. So you're just going to make your bead and come down. Make your bead and come down. Pull back and come down. I usually like to go about a little bit bigger than the width of my opening of my tip. That way I know that my beads will all pretty much be the same size. And just, if this is your first time doing this, go slow. There's no rush. It'll come out better if you go slow. The important thing to remember about this border is that you're going to come down and you want to make that little tail so that they gently attach to one another. So I will finish my border. We'll let it dry for a good couple hours. This is a off-peak consistency, so it will dry faster than if you were doing a wet consistency or a soft peak consistency. So you don't have to wait as long as if you were doing if you were doing a line consistency. So I'll see you back here in a few hours and we'll show you how to color it. So our royal icing has dried enough that I can paint it. And I'm going to start with our scratch pipe primrose. And I'm doing it all in the fairy pink, the same color that I dusted the cookie with. And as you can see, it is a much darker color. In the same family, but a much, much darker color. And it makes the petals just pop right out. Now I have to tell you, I like that white on white look, and I have done a lot where I've done many, cookies where I've done a pearled white color because I really do like that look a lot. But I think for this time of year, this is perfect for a bridal shower or a wedding favor. And in fact, these cookies are designated for that. But I want you to imagine what someone who receives this cookie, their face. It's just such a elegant, beautiful cookie. It says everything that you would want to say to somebody. So I'm going to continue to to paint the pipe flowers, the scratch pipe flowers, and I'll meet you back here when I start painting the border. So we have painted all our scratch pipe primroses, and we're going to go on to the border. I'm just adding a little bit more fairy pink to my palette. I use a ribbon inserter because it's the perfect little shovel in my opinion. That way I don't waste any. Just going to add a tiny little bit of my Everclear. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, if for whatever reason you don't want to use alcohol, you can use lemon extract. It works just fine. Just make sure that it's more on the thicker side. So we're painting the border the exact same way that we painted the flowers. You just want to go in and get the little snail's trail beaded border. If your paint or your dust paint is a little too runny, it will run onto your surface. If that happens, I always have a little brush handy, and I'll have some Everclear in another little dish, and you can remove it. Just go real slow and take it off. It's like an eraser. So no worries there. The other thing that I wanted to mention that I had not or forgot to mention while I was talking about the scratch piping, a primrose petal, as I said, has almost a heart-shaped petal for all 5. And if you wanted to, you could just do a blossom with 4 petals. But because it is a heart-shaped petal, those 2 hearts are almost on top of one another. You want to keep them pretty close together, and then pipe 2 more petals as you go around until you get to 5 petals. But each of your petals are 2, as you know, 2 pipe teardrops or little hearts, and you want them to be fairly close together because that's how a primrose is. It'll also make it a lot easier on you when you're trying to pipe that little area in getting all your petals in there. So I realized I had not mentioned that. I'm just going to finish up here, and I will show you the finished product when we're done. So we've painted our border, our flowers, our cookie's pretty much done. I'm just going in and seeing if I see any white spots that I might have missed. But it has been an absolute pleasure showing you this tutorial. I have to admit this was a fun cookie to design, and I hope you like it.